Welcome back to Mallory Park for this Motors TV live race day. We've had a cracking Tin-Top Series race already, and the grid very shortly is going to be full of Metros because the very popular Drayton Manor Park MG Metro Cup is going to be next. Here at Mallory Park, I'm afraid the rain has started to fall. It's been dry all morning, but now we're getting a little bit of rain falling, and therefore the track is going to be slippery. There are the Metros. They're going to be coming up very shortly. As I say, the Tin-Top Series has just finished its first of two races of the day, won by Ian Butler with his very successful Ford Focus, and he's going to be out later on. Chris Whiteman was in the same race, but he got caught out at the hairpin, and that Joe Twyman a very big spin.
He just lost it on the brakes. Yeah, he was lucky not to hit the wall there, to be honest.
See the spots of rain on the windscreen of Chris Whiteman's car, and the Metros making their way now from the collecting area. They're all rolling starts, the races at Mallory Park today, so quickly the cars brought from the collecting area round into the race itself. There's one car needing a push to go down the pit lane and has been in grief just of late, which is 65, the car of Tom Burles. Now, the Drayton Manor Park MG Metro Cup broken into classes. So you've got standard 8-valve Metros, you've got modified Metros, standard turbos, and the 8-valve K-Series engine cars in a separate class. Then you've got modified MG Metro turbos from the old race championship, and 1380cc Metros going up against Rover 100s with 16-valve 1400cc engines. And then there's an invitation class, of which there is one car, Ray Kirschberg's MG Metro, for cars that don't comply with the regulations, but it's good to have them on the grid. So it's a very, very busy grid we're going to get. There are 29 cars set to take the start. The field making its way down towards the S's. You've got Mike Williams as the man on pole position, who has already had 2 outright wins this year, and Neil Gardner lining up alongside him. He's the other driver that has scored a victory. They have split the wins between them, and it's very encouraging to see such a busy field, including there, as you look down the grid, car number 7, which is the turbo of Tony Howe, a car that he's been racing for decades. Tony has raced this since Metros had their own manufacturer-backed one-make championship going back many, many, many years. So the cars come out of the hairpin. You're on board with Mark Bellamy as we get to set then for the start of the race, the first of 2, and the pace car will peel into the pit lane now. The race underway. It's a slightly untidy start, but getting a very good getaway. Mike Williams then, who tries to hang on to that advantage, diving down towards Gerrard's for the first time. You can see this huge field pouring through as they work their way out of turn 1. So, heading towards Steb Straight for the first time. Is it going to be still Mike Williams that hangs on to the advantage? Neil Gardner going with him. Everybody pouring their way through, and now the cars work their way onto the Steb Straight. And look at this, absolutely side by side. Neil Gardner being edged onto the grass of the yellow car. He keeps on coming. Very, very close indeed. Mike Williams gives him no room at all there. They're still side by side. Are they going to make contact? Not quite. They're 3 wide, look, coming up towards the hairpin, because Tom Sanderson there goes to the outside line. They've somehow missed each other. Can they go 3 abreast round the hairpin? They have a real good go at it, and eventually, just ahead comes Neil Gardner. That was a pretty fraught first lap, Joe.
I'm going to say, yeah, that yeah, normally 3 doesn't go into 1, but they all managed to get through, and yeah, they're really going for it, aren't they?
So Mike Williams then, who did lead, now sort of 2nd and a half as they go across the line, because he's right up alongside Tom Sanderson's car. They dive into Gerrard's, and going a bit wide is Neil Gardner. He leaves the door open. It's another 10-minute race this, and look, back on the inside comes Mike Williams. He gets up alongside, he retakes the race lead. Fantastic stuff, this.
It's fantastic, nose to tail, and I would have thought there'd be 3 again going into the hairpin on this second lap.
Tom Sanderson, number 19, looking for a gap everywhere he can, but now back into the race lead on the inside goes Neil Gardner. He's up alongside, he's going to go through, is he? Again, Mike Williams gets forced out wide, yes. So Neil Gardner comes through, and now Sanderson tries to attack, but they're all being caught as well. The next train of cars are starting to close up as they dive down to the hairpin. Tom Granger is there, number 94, turning their way out of the hairpin, down to the devil's elbow. The race leader just is Neil Gardner. Right up behind him is the double winner this year, Mike Williams. And then going with them, you've got Tom Sanderson from the 2nd row of the grid. Cars pouring their way through the hairpin. 8 more minutes of the fun still to go. Now the top 2 just gapping slightly. Everybody else, they go towards Gerrard's, and getting all crossed up there is the yellow and blue car of Neil Gardner that bounces wide, and also Mike Williams has gone with him, and they've gone way off into the weeds. They found a water splash. They've gone rally crossing, and the 2 grubby leading cars are trying to find some tarmac, and they're still side by side, even on the grass. But eventually, it's going to be Mike Williams who gets himself on just ahead of Neil Gardner, living up to his name by going onto the grass, Neil Gardner, and all of that means that there's been yet more shuffling at the head of the field, and so Tom Sanderson it is who comes through in the lead of the race. What did they do wrong?
It's difficult to say, really. I'm not really sure. It was certainly a brave move going down there, and I think they just got caught up with it. It was a case of who would brake latest, and neither of them wanted to give in.
Yeah, I think might have been a bit of contact as well. We'll try and get a replay, no doubt, in due course. But the new order then is Tom Sanderson leading the way, and going with him as they head over the timing line, you've got Tom Granger. Tom, just 17 years of age, Tom Granger this is. And oops, somebody else in trouble, way off on the runoff area there. Look, number 11, Stephen Hinchcliffe, the accountant, who's found that it doesn't add up for him at the moment on the grass. He's going no further. So the two Toms then, the Tom-Tom battle navigating its way down towards the S's with, at the moment, Sanderson ahead of Granger, and another good battle going on for third, because there you've got Paul Ashton ahead of Tony Howe, who, as I say, is a very experienced driver, Tony, with his Metro Turbo, the bright yellow car. So they're pairing off a little bit. The two leaders nose to tail. Now, is there going to be a challenge this time, I wonder, Joe, heading up towards the hairpin?
Not sure. I just wonder whether there's potentially some spots of rain out there. Certainly from here in the commentary box, doesn't look like it, but the cars are looking like they're moving around a little bit, and you just have to wonder whether they were struggling for grip at turn 1 when they went off.
Yeah, could well be, could well be. Here are the leaders then, and at the moment it looks like 94 there. The second place car, Tom Granger, is the quickest, gets a good run coming over the start and finish line. Now, in this shape of car, can you get a tow? Does slip feeding work?
I'm not sure. I've done quite a bit of stuff in a historic Mini, and you certainly seem to get a tow in one of those. But whether that's behind a big Ford Falcon or another Mini, I'm not sure.
In a boxy Metro shape, it might be a similar case. Now, after their grassy excursion, Mike Williams and Neil Gardner are fighting back. Mike Williams is 8th and has just done the best lap of the race, despite muddy tyres, and Neil Gardner is 12th. The race leaders have gone through the S's, and this fight for third, look, number 79, the car in the hands of Paul Ashton versus Tony Howe. These two are working their way into contention. Tony Howe started on the 4th row of the grid. He comes up on the outside line there, down to the hairpin, the yellow car looking for a way by. Can't do it yet. And then behind them, you've got number 33, Jonathan Woodcock, who's also taken a class win this year. Tony Howe there, look to the inside line. And Tony, who's been racing this car for so many years now, hasn't had an outright win for quite some time. He's due one, I think, possibly today. Comes up, he's in third place, the best of the rest. But he's got to find 2 seconds against the rest of them as they come over the line. So as they go through Gerrard's, this now lap number 6, we're at the halfway mark. And how are the grass trackers getting on? Mike Williams is 7th, Neil Gardner is in 11th place as they turn their way through Gerrard's. And there's Mark Bellamy, who is the coordinator of this championship, the agronomist, twice a runner-up in the championship, and at the moment he's running down in 8th place, turning his way, in fact, now onto the step straight. He's almost lonely, isn't he? There's a clear-ish road ahead of him, so he needs a few playmates here.
With 30 cars out there, I would have thought it's a very rare thing to be on your own. But it looks like car number 19, Sanderson, has just obviously set the fastest lap last time round, has actually pulled a bit of a lead.
The man that's chasing Tom Sanderson, you'll see in a moment, which is Tom Granger. And here they come, out of the Devil's Elbow. The gap last time was 0.3 of a second, and now they blast past the pit, 6 laps done. Tony Howe is a man in a big, big hurry because he has now, in third place, done the fastest lap of the race. So the yellow Metro Turbo is starting to close on the traffic ahead. So with just under 4 minutes of the race to go, he's becoming the one to watch. Mike Williams, having been on the grass at Gerrard's, is now in 7th place. Neil Gardner is finding it harder to fight back. He's down in 10th. So there's still quite a bit, I think, that will shake out of this race. Here's the lead battle. The two Toms still running together, but Tony Howe in the background, look, getting closer and closer all the time. Here they come, up towards the hairpin once again. Number 19, Tom Sanderson, then turns his way through the hairpin. The man from Scunthorpe keeping at bay Tom Granger, the 17-year-old student, former kart racer, first year of car racing. And then Tony Howe, as I say, he's done the best lap of the race. He's getting closer and closer all the time. It was 1.4 seconds he had to make up for the second place car. The gap this time is down, but only by a 10th, in fact. So he's done the hard work. He's up into third place, but finding it hard now, Joe, seemingly to get right up with the top 2.
Yeah, he is, and then just looking at Tom Granger going through there with a load of opposite lock and cocking a wheel there. These look like a lot of fun to drive, actually, and one make series. All the cars are supposedly identical, and you know, you'd think that the best drivers are the ones that are running at the front.
Absolutely right. You can buy one of these cars race ready for something like £2,500 to £3,000, and a season of racing will cost you about £6,000 on top of that. And Tony Howe's car, one of the older cars in the race, because it's from the old days of the Metro Turbo Championship, chasing the Rover 100s ahead. coming up to traffic, and you'll see something that looks neither like a Rover 100 or a Metro, because it's the 1400cc MG ZR, which is allowed into the championship of Jonathan Agar, who's raced Metros for many, many years. Tony Howe then in third place, goes quicker still, does another best lap of the race. And the Metros that were launched as a one-make championship in 1981, then after the original Metros, you had the MG normally aspirated cars as their own championship, then the Metro Turbos came along, and for years gave tremendous racing. There was always a Metro Turbo, and prior to that, a normally aspirated MG Metro race supporting the British Grand Prix that was always a highlight of the weekend. And I don't think Metro racing, even though it was very close, was quite as rowdy as modern day one-make championships. Well, here, it's not rowdy, but it's very, very close. It's getting closer because we're building up for 3 for the lead now, and there are back markers ahead. Look as they dive down towards the hairpin. On the inside is the leader, Tom Sanderson, trying to thread his way through the traffic. He's just going to squeeze past Darren Anwood's car, coming down towards the Devil's Elbow. And have a look at Tony Howe in third place. 1.5 minutes on the clock. They've got time for 2 more laps, I would suggest, as they come through now. And as they do so, back markers keeping out of the way. The lead gap is 3/10, and the top 3 covered by just 1.5 seconds. Looks like Tony Howe has dropped back, and again there, Tom Granger flings the car sideways going into Gerrard. It's great to watch.
It's fantastic to watch. It's yeah, these front-wheel drive cars, I think if you just keep your foot in, the car's going to keep in a straight line pretty much, and yeah, they do look like a lot of fun. Looking at it, we've got Tony Howe really pushing on. He's got his lights on, and that last lap, although it was a little slower, I think looking at the lap before, he was actually 1.4 seconds quicker than he went in qualifying.
Pretty impressive, isn't it? Here's a good little battle developing for 6th place, because you can see now the rather muddy car of Mike Williams trying to fight back against Tim Davies, who runs off the road and gets all sideways, and that very nearly spelled disaster for Mike Williams, who comes up alongside him and tries to go round the outside the hairpin. Is it going to work for him? Not quite. So he's alongside, coming to the Devil's Elbow. The leaders have gone by, and the last lap board has been shown to them. There it is. So they've got 1 more lap, 0.3 of a second between the top 2. I think Tony Howe is falling away. Now, how is Mike Williams getting on? He's still alongside Tim Davies. These are the 2 leaders. They've got now less than a lap to go. To be fair to Tom Sanderson, he's never had a big advantage in this race, Joe, but he's not put a wheel wrong. He's not put a wheel wrong, but we've got Tom Granger putting his lights on, trying to put the leader off. But he seems to be very, very composed, and I think he's managing it quite well, to be honest. I'll go along with that. Tony Howe there or thereabouts in third place, and as they come down to the hairpin, there's a big lock-up and a big squeal of tyres. Both of them get around the corner safely, although Sanderson not that quick coming out of the corner, but he's going to be able to hang on. He sticks his elbows out, makes the car wide, coming into the Devil's Elbow. And so Tom Sanderson, he's going to win the Battle of the Toms, because Tom Granger is going to be on his tail. There's the flag. They come across the line. Tom Sanderson wins. Tom Granger is second. Tony Howe takes third. And fourth is going to be Paul Ashton. Jonathan Woodcock will come through to be fifth. And we wait for sixth. It was Mike Williams, except I think he's gone missing on the last lap, hasn't he? Because Tim Davies comes through in the end, the man with whom Mike Williams was battling, and he's long overdue. Remember the blue and white car with its muddy front? Well, it's not come over the timing line yet, and somewhere around Mallory, I fear, the man that led briefly early on in this race has come to grief. Looking around to try and spot the car, and I can't do so yet, but it'll be hidden out there somewhere. So after what was a fairly busy race, we saw them going side by side down towards Gerrard's. I wonder whether he made another mistake there, Mike Williams. What a race, eh? It's fantastic. Metros everywhere.
It looked like really good fun. I actually want to be out there. Yeah, I mean, they're all driving very well, and right up the front, the winner Sanderson, he really did a very good job of maintaining the lead and not sort of reacting to the flashing lights of Granger.
And the beauty of this, as we were saying in the race, is that you can go racing competitively, really close racing, for not much money. Tom Sanderson, the winner, from Tom Granger and Tony Howe's Metro Turbo. Paul Ashton, fourth. Jonathan Woodcock, fifth. And Tim Davies rounds out the top 6 in a very lively race indeed. And the results of that will help sort out the grid for race 2. And we'll look forward to the second race later on. Now this is a replay of what happened between the 2 leaders. Did they get it wrong together, or was there a bit of contact? Either way, Joe, they both went way, way wide into the weeds.
Yeah, I think they both got it wrong, and there was a bit of contact, so it was everything there. It's a shame, because it was really shaping up to a very, very good race, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in race 2 with them coming from behind.
Yeah, because Neil Gardner, in the end, got himself to 7th, but Mike Williams didn't even get to the checkered flag. He's going to be way, way down. Well, Tom Sanderson takes a very well-deserved win, and he's with Jenny Gow.
Yes, he is, Tom. Congratulations. That was a real good battle between you and the other Tom as well.
Yeah, it was a great battle at the end. I was just hoping for third, really, to be honest, but then Mike and Neil took themselves out in the first corner, and that was it. Luck was in my favour today, so I'm well chuffed. Over the moon.
You obviously got quite a good view of what was happening. We were looking on, and unbelievably that they managed to take themselves out.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself, and then I nearly lost it myself, and after that it was just me and the other Tom having a good battle. Well done to him, because he's on the worst of tyres than me, so he did really well to get second overall.
Well, let's get your trophy in and your laurel. You can go off and celebrate. As we said, we are interactive today, so Tweeting Alien's been in touch saying he owned a few MGs, currently got an MX-5. Love to see those racing on Motors TV at some time, but definitely looking forward to all of the MGs taking to Mallory Park later on.
Indeed so, and we've got more from the Metros a little bit later on in the day as well. So